Okay, so I'll probably talk over bits more because I'll give my input on it, even though I haven't played the game. Well, I haven't played the game, but I know a load about this game. So, the good and the bad. Right, where's the volume control? I'll skip past stuff.
2023, Diablo 4 officially launched, and it was an instant. On June 6th of 2023, Diablo 4 officially launched, and it was an instant home run success.
Thanks to the raid.
Twitch was booming. The concurrent player base peaked at almost 7 million.
The numbers on this are massive, by the way. I know the numbers before they go into it.
Players, long queue times, and celebrities partook in the ride. Everybody thought this was the game they were going to call home for a while. Now, there are as little as 400 people watching Diablo 4 on Twitch.
400 people? Ain't no way. That's crazy.
Players are forced to complete world bosses and events completely on their own.
How's the volume, by the way? If you need me to turn it out, let me know.
Player population dropped by over 90.
I didn't think it was that bad. They lost 99.34% of their player base. This game came out in June, by the way. We're in September. Diablo 4, the game that everyone was talking about. The game that everyone was talking about, from ARPG, and the fan base was really looking forward to this. This is what it resulted in.
99%. The economy between Eternal and Seasonal Realms have been destroyed by rampant bugs. Season 1 content was an absolute disaster, and Season 2 looks to be the exact same. How did this happen? Where did this once beloved franchise go wrong? And what will it take to fix it? Today I'm going to explore the timeline of Diablo 4 from pre-release to what the game is now. Grab a cup of coffee and settle in, because this is the complete timeline of how Diablo 4 became the biggest disappointment in gaming history.
Alright, dude. I can think of a couple games that are also a bit disappointment, but whatever.
Of course, I want to give a big thank you to
gaming history. Might be a slight reach, but YouTube
subscription members who keep this dream alive by direct.
You blame Baldur's Gate? What, for exposing Blizzard again? I mean, you got to remember, this is after. Got to remember when we were talking about Overwatch, right? And Overwatch 2, and how they backtracked on, how Blizzard backtracked on the PvE content that they were promising for Overwatch 2. The only reason why they made Overwatch 2 and gave it a number 2 was because they would do this big PvE piece on the game, and then after years of development, they just dropped the whole thing out of the clear blue sky and disappointed the entire player base, pretty much, of Overwatch. This was a few months after. Then Diablo 4 came out a few months after. A month or two after, actually, to be more precise.
Now, ever since the late 90s, Blizzard Entertainment has been a staple in the gaming world, making some of the most popular and beloved gaming franchises.
This part's important for context.
Of all time. The Warcraft trilogy, StarCraft, Diablo, Hearthstone, Overwatch, and their most popular, the World of Warcraft. The Diablo franchise in particular was a real heavy hitter. It embodied the true heart and soul of what the company stood for at the time. An incredible RPG gaming experience that is a mix of fantasy and dark gothic horror that many people across the world just couldn't put down. Diablo 2 released...
A lot of the player base dropped before Baldur's Gate even came out, though. D2 and D3 fans were looking forward to this game still, and they just instantly were turned off. People went back to... I bet he says it in this video. People went back to Diablo 3 after trying Diablo 4. Diablo 3 still holds as many viewers on Twitch as Diablo 4 does, if not more, in cases. That says a lot. And Diablo 3 isn't even, in my opinion, the best Diablo.
In the year 2000,
this one is. This one is the one I put a lot of time in. I played Diablo 2 for years.
Alone fostered a sense of community among players, paving the way for future
my early teen years
multiplayer games. And if you didn't want to play online, you didn't have to. The game left a permanent mark on the gaming world by introducing multiplayer features, innovative gameplay mechanics, expansion packs, and DLCs that influenced countless titles that followed it. This iconic game remains relevant even 2 decades after its initial release, leaving people hooked to this day. By the time Diablo 3 went into production, a whole new development team was in place, and in many eyes, this time period was the beginning of the end for Blizzard Entertainment.
True.
With the game finally launching
True.
on May 15th, 2012, the infamous Error
Dun, 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 dun. Bum, 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 bum. Boom, boom. Yo, Yet in with the gifted sub to Zach. By the way, Yet, enjoy the start of your weekend. I know you said it's your weekend now. Hope you enjoyed the start of your weekend. And yo, thank you for gifted sub, Zach. Welcome back. Always good to have you, man.
37 plagued the internet, leaving countless players in limbo on launch day.
This is a message to the people who work for Blizzard.
Is OMG here? Tendy, thank you for the gifted sub to OMG. Oh, it was random. And you broke the Streamlabs. GG. It's Tendy's turn this time. Tendy, thank you for the gifted sub, man. Appreciate you, dude. Hope you had a good weekend as well. Pause jump, high train. Remember, 25% off gifted all gifted subs this week.
Can't even play the fucking game. This is bullshit.
They might swear in this.
Bullshit. I paid money, cash money, dollar money, cash money.
Baby rage,
The auction house
real life
lost-
baby rage, guys. Real life baby rage right here.
Error 37 plagued the internet,
Error 37. Oh yeah. Okay.
leaving countless players
Calm
in
down,
limbo
Randy.
on launch day.
This is a message to the people who work for Blizzard. Can't even play the fucking game.
Boogie 2988.
This is bullshit. This is bullshit. I paid money, cash money, dollar money, cash money.
The auction house, doing more harm than good, gave you the opportunity as a player to spend hundreds of dollars of your hard-earned real-life money on items in the game.
And people complain about gacha game. Imagine paying full price for a game and then you buy stuff in there with real money in the game that you already paid full price for. Crazy. This is D3, by the way.
And this benefited Blizzard
He's
greatly
the
because they
person.
took a $1 cut on every successful auction. And with the game's insane levels of progressive difficulty,
Basically, no, I'll explain what this is. So basically, if you found things, it's not like you're buying the item. So, well, you're not buying the item from Blizzard. So, if I found a super rare item, I could put it up for auction. They have so basically, the players are selling it. It's like what CS does now with like knives and stuff as well. Like it's like an investment. There's like kind of like a stock thing. So if you found rare items that are super rare, because these games have like drop rates of like less than 1%. You know, they're like terrible drop rates. The whole point is you farm it forever, but you might find something that will be useful for someone else, and they'd have their own insight in auction. And Blizzard would take $1 per one of those. That's what this is. So basically, players could make money playing Diablo. Effectively.
it meant that if you wanted to progress in the game effectively, the perfect gear was just in wallet's reach for nearly 2 years until it was finally removed. It took many years of innovation to
But that crosses so many problems, and adds gambling as a factor into video games. Like I said, they removed.
bring Diablo 3 to where it is today. DLCs, seasons being implemented, greater rifts, and non-stop updates for nearly 10 years. A game with a disastrous launch and some fundamental problems with its core design has grown into one of Blizzard's most long-lasting and beloved games that is currently being played.
Not true. Diablo 2 has probably long lasted than D3. However, they did fix D3. I have to say, they did put in the effort to D3 to actually take off the bat. It's like how Final Fantasy 14 started. They had to blow up the world and restart it, kind of thing. They did that with D3. They basically just restarted the game from a community perspective and just did what they best to fix the community. Because games like Diablo thrive with its community. So
and viewed as much as Diablo 4.
the reason why they did an in-game auction is because people sell this stuff on third-party websites, IRL. So this was a way to keep it in the game and keep it so you don't get caught off by scammers and stuff as well. So it wasn't a terrible idea in terms of managing it, but you know, there's only so much you can do. But you got to remember, this isn't a free. If this was a free-to-play game, I'd be like, okay, but this free-to-play games wouldn't exist at this point.
Now, with 3 games in the franchise under its belt, Blizzard was looking to announce Diablo 4.
Anyway, Diablo 4 was anticipated for a very long time. Here comes, everyone's favorite part.
at BlizzCon. But with the horrific Diablo Immortal announcement at BlizzCon 2018,
with Android and iOS, we don't have any plans at the moment to do PC. Do you guys not have phones?
Do you not have phones, guys? Do you not have
childhood
phones?
excitement for yet
That
another
line's
Blizzard game
legendary.
is something that seems very grim in today's world. The once king of kings in game development.
That received such a backlash. There was the biggest backlash. People, when you go on stage and get booed, that's when you got problems
Has
with your
fallen
company.
very far from what they once were. They're hoping their heavy hitter franchise like Diablo can once again spark life into the cold, bitter
You
shell
guys got
Blizzard
phones,
is today.
right?
It all started with a grand announcement at BlizzCon, building hype and excitement amongst the fans.
Hey, look, it's
Easily being
Asmongold,
one of their
guys.
greatest cinematics to date, the Diablo 4 announcement trailer left fans excited and happy to see Blizzard attempt and return to their truly dark and gothic roots of Diablo 2. Once the announcement trailer dropped, Blizzard was officially on the clock from the fans. And then, disaster struck.
More
Dun,
than
dun, dun.
1,500 Activision Blizzard employees are calling for the resignation of the company's CEO, Bobby Kotick.
That Kotick had known about things, and he also had threatened to have an assistant killed at one point.
The company began to truly unravel
The fall of
midway
Blizzard, by
through
the way.
development in 2021, with a major lawsuit against Activision Blizzard being filed for a near 2-year running investigation into the company from
It was at this point, every WoW streamer jumped to Final Fantasy 14. You remember there was that time where Final Fantasy 14 blew up even more than it already was, and people couldn't, they had to stop selling the game, right? Well, that's because of this as well. So Square were like, so as this happens, everyone boycotted World of Warcraft as well, the player base, and they all switched back after a few months because, of course they did. But so they could get their MMO fix, they all started playing Final Fantasy 14 to the point where 14 had to stop selling the game or stop selling subscriptions to let people in because their servers were overloaded. So that was at that time. Even I was like, "Go on, Square, capitalize. You deserve
the
it."
state of California.
Funds the
Between
next part of the
sexual
remake for us.
allegations, unfair and unethical treatment toward women in the workplace, and more dark, evil
Yeah, they
secrets
go on
being
hiatus.
surfaced,
It's MMO. What do
hundreds
you
of
expect?
employees at Blizzard walk
And
out
when you put
to
that many years
protest
into the
against
game, what do you
this
expect?
frat boy culture, and even more quit or step down from the company, leaving everything in disarray. And Diablo 4 was no exception to this.
I mean, it's not the devs, the people who were managing it. To be fair, it's the CEO of Blizzard. It's a different thing, but they were doing it to show solidarity, and that's the right thing because the devs were getting poorly treated as well. So the game devs themselves were the ones who were getting treated like crap, and it was the upper management, or the investors and CEOs that were the problem. So like it would
The
be fair to
ongoing
the game
sexual
devs.
harassment lawsuit took a major toll on Blizzard, and the company bled high-quality developers and talent rapidly.
Bye.
In Blizzard's earning report for investors, they clearly stated that it has become apparent that some of the Blizzard content planned for the next year will benefit from more development time to reach its full potential.
Hold up. 2 games Blizzard most into Horizon for Overwatch 2 in particular is a curious case. Initially pitched as a sequel-sized update to the first game rather than a standalone release. Announced 2 years ago, it appears there's still plenty of work to be done. Diablo 4 was announced more recently. So they're saying, so this is happening during the lawsuits and stuff, right? They're saying the delays of the games is not because everyone's gone on strike and stuff, but because there's more game development to do. All right, sure. Point of turbulent of the key leaders in the wake of the lawsuit. Delayed both games. So they're only delaying Overwatch 2, guys.
They also said they need extra time to complete
Awkward.
production and continue growing their creative resources to support the titles after launch. Though not stated explicitly, the wording in the report implies that neither Overwatch 2 or Diablo 4 will launch before 2023. So with no other option, Diablo 4 was officially delayed.
This video isn't about Overwatch 2, but they just released Overwatch 2 in Overwatch's one state with some patch updates, some balance changes, called it Overwatch 2, and then the actual Overwatch 2 stuff they were going to add, they never did.
For a while during this time, Blizzard did what they do best. Feed and prey off the nostalgia of previous games from their fans. The nostalgia of the great times this company once had. They went down the line and re-released titles of all their beloved games. Classic World of Warcraft, which led to what is now the re-release of the Wrath of the Lich King. Warcraft Reforged, which was a convoluted disaster. And finally, Diablo 2 Resurrected. They knew that by releasing these games, it would make them hundreds of millions of dollars.
I forgot they redone
Warcraft 3. To try and develop something new that the fans would come to love once again. But time and time after, they fail to follow through with that promise and always come up short. With the new day and age of Blizzard's monetization, where they squeeze everything they can take, it finally took its toll. Classic era of World of Warcraft having expansion pack passes, character boosts, and now a new WoW token across expansions.
Wow.
Where you can literally buy gold with real life money. Overwatch 2 being a copy of Overwatch 1 with egregious monetization and broken promises of new content.
$25 skin? What?
Overwatch 1 with egregious monetization.
No, what am I looking at? A skin for a character in Overwatch is $75. Who's buying that? You know what people are, like, that's the problem.
And broken promises of new content and story that never came to light. Warcraft.
This is what's wrong with the gaming industry. I always say Activision and Blizzard and EA are at the forefront of problems. And Activision and Blizzard, people go for EA still more to this day. But Activision and Blizzard are the worst. Literally the worst. No quality in their games. And it's always throwing in transactions and money left, right, and center to buy. Bro, honestly, it's just so bad. At least Fortnite's free to play, you know? Like, there's like some balance. Do you understand why it's all transactions? Because it's free to play to actually think. This is a full price game. Overwatch 2 is, you still have to buy Overwatch. What about Ubisoft? Ubisoft just, they went stale over the years. I'm talking about one of the reasons why the game industry has got to the point where you can release crappy games and get away with it is because Activision did it for years. So did EA. Just release the same crap with no effort, charge full price for it, and then put tons of DLC into it because the same people are going to play it.
Being a reskin with even more broken promises, at this point in time...
Who lit the $75 skins? Probably this dude.
It seems as if the company continues to make the wrong decisions based on greed and simply takes advantage of its player base across every game they've ever developed.
You got phones, right,
there?
though?
No choice. The only thing we can do now is...
And, I don't know if he covers it, but Diablo Immortal, the mobile game, there was like, someone worked it out, I don't know if someone should, but it was like, you would have to spend something like $200,000 just to get a strong build in Diablo Immortal. That's how bad the rates were for writing in the game.
The Diablo 4 doesn't follow this sad and beat down pattern.
Like, no one liked it.
For many others, including myself, this would be Blizzard's last chance at repairing what is a betrayed and broken relationship between us and what used to be a magical company.
So TLDR, the history, this is all before Diablo 4 has come out, by the way. The TLDR is they had a great fan base, and they really did. They really did. They were back in the day, like early days, like D2 days, early Warcraft days, even early World of Warcraft days. They were just like all the other ones, really good devs, like early 2000s, like late 90s. Really good devs, cared about the games, created quality, put a lot of thought into it, and this is what they are now. Like, this is the good example of Blizzard just being Blizzard. This is why I'm always attacking Blizzard, by the way.
So stop holding out hope that Blizzard is going to come back. Everyone who founded Blizzard, all the principles that Blizzard was founded on, are dead. They've been desecrated.
Thank you.
Let Blizzard go.
Former Blizzard employee just said it, actually.
Let Blizzard go. Appreciate what was created back when it was done. Stop holding out hope that it's going to come back, because it's not.
Hope. Hope is all that remains. In August of 2022,
I call it copium, but sure.
Blizzard announced their Diablo 4 alpha playtest, running for friends and family of Blizzard employees. Jason Schreier, a Bloomberg reporter, states on Twitter, "A bunch of people are playing an early build of Diablo 4 right now thanks to a friends and family alpha test. These players are under NDA, but I'm hearing mostly positive buzz." Schreier also noted that there are no microtransactions in the alpha build, so players won't have much of an idea what to expect from monetization. Although, Blizzard has previously confirmed that small Diablo 4 purchases will be cosmetic only, aside from larger story.
Diablo 4 will be cosmetic only purchase, in-game purchases. Just remember that, I guess.
Expansions. Months later, the Diablo 4 endgame beta invites go out in October of 2022, and the playtest officially begins. The playtest itself gave lucky testers a chance to go up against Lilith in the post-campaign Sanctuary and test out Diablo 4's endgame modes and instances. This included the Whispers of the Dead system, the progressively challenging Nightmare dungeons, region-wide Hell Tides, the Fields of Hatred PvP, and the Paragon board progression system. This was the only endgame test they hosted before launch, with enough time to make changes. And this is going to be important and a big conversation topic later.
Yeah, there's no endgame, by the way.
Couple months after that, a massive article comes out on the Washington Post stating that Diablo 4 developers are working overtime to meet the release deadline, and it also includes their own staff, stating there is mismanagement and disturbing script changes that might contribute to delays. It's a process that's been plagued by mismanagement and employees being promised perks for working late evenings and weekends outside of regular work hours, but employees stating they were simply negligible perks, such as a $25 DoorDash credit if they worked more than 10 hours a day.
This is the company that are charging $75 skins, by the way. Hey, if you work 10 hours, you might get a $25 DoorDash card so that you can spend it immediately when you get home because you've not had a chance to eat today. Ain't no way is this real.
They described a mounting sense of dissatisfaction and malice amongst employees as they endured leadership change.
A game that's $70 off.
And that the Diablo team has been losing talent for over a year
as
employees
insane.
Look for more competitive wages and better work conditions elsewhere. Activision Blizzard CEO Bobby Kotick attributed the company's stock price drop to the game delay of Diablo 4 and Overwatch 2.
Is this man serious? So Blizzard's stock dropped because he blames it on Overwatch's games development, not the fact that this man is a seedy, evil person. All right.
Rather than the ongoing sexual harassment
against
the company in July of 2021. He quotes, "I think what affected the stock price more than the sexual harassment investigation is pushing out the release dates of Overwatch 2 and Diablo 4. His comments frustrated some of the company's developers who felt he was blaming them unfairly, stating, "We felt very much like he just drove the bus over on top of us." As you can see, the relationship and chemistry within the company...
That a male former Diablo 4 team lead. So someone walked out the door and said, "I've had enough. Make your own game."
Seems to begin crumbling. A person familiar with senior leadership found the performance shares unnecessary and even destructive, arguing that they incentivize leadership to cut corners, compromise, and ship products that are not ready to be released instead of doing what is the best thing for the long-term value creation. Employees state they just went to work every day and got angry, either because the tools were slow or they simply did not like the game that much. They also stated that it wasn't just employees that left, it was many with
one of the key people.
Institutional knowledge and decades of experience, leaving brand new employees and developers brought in from elsewhere to fill in. Diablo 4's unannounced internal release date went from 2021 to December of 2022, then got pushed back further to April 2023, and then finally June of 2023. A former employee stated, "We're at the point where they're not willing to delay the game anymore. So we all just have to go along and figure out how much we're willing to hurt ourselves to make sure the game gets released in a good enough state."
This is Blizzard in a nutshell, right? It's not the people making the game, the actual people that are working under ridiculous circumstances to put this game out there. It's literally the management. It's always the management. They are absolutely the worst human beings out there. They have absolutely no. They think that they think everything they do is right. It also blows my mind. This is typical corporate companies in a nutshell, where they're like they don't care about the quality. This is what I'm saying. Why I got problems with Blizzard. They do not care about the qualities of their game. The people who manage it. If you'll look at Cyberpunk, like the people who were managing that did not care about the quality of the game. They want to go out. Now it's taken them 2.5 years to release the game in the state that it should have been released in back then. Like, that's not the people making the game's fault. The physical devs, the actual people who run the company. And they're like, no, release the game regardless of what state it's in. That is what they're saying. Just do it. Like, I don't care. I want to make money now. That's what they're saying. And they don't understand that it's going to hurt them more. But, you know.
To help Diablo 4
They don't
get
care.
over the finish line, Activision Blizzard enlisted industry veterans such as Rod Ferguson. Rod would hold weekly Zoom meetings known as Rodcasts, which during
Sorry. Rodcast made me laugh. Hey guys, tune in for the weekly Rodcast, by the way. We'll discuss movies he enjoyed or celebrities he had spent time with. Lovely.
them he would
Good job. Working hard.
talk about celebrities he's met and movies he enjoys. Employees felt that not much actually came out of these discussions, stating, "To me, he came off as a bit of a clout chaser about where he came from, like Gears of War. We all thought he was gonna come in and fix the game.
There.
And when nothing happened, that's when you started to see this massive turnover." The Blizzard Entertainment company that was once so dedicated to quality and putting out the best product they possibly can
My point.
is currently rushing out Diablo 4.
Good night, Holy. Thank you for the gifted subs once again earlier on the start of the stream. Appreciate you so much. And the bits. Have a good night. Sleep well. I'll see you tomorrow.
In a good enough state, with employees and team members who don't get along, and leaders who are poor at taking care of their team members. All of this inside of an environment that is polluted with greed and numbers more than anything. With launch just a few months away,
And they're trying to get bought by Microsoft.
Diablo 4 is looking grim.
I think this is
On February 21st, the
Never mind.
developers officially released the Inside the World of Sanctuary video, where they had many developers speak upon the art direction, environment, monsters, gameplay innovations, and world building. They made promises and stated they wanted to bring the game back toward Diablo 2.
We
Good-
wanted
good
to
idea.
bring Diablo 4 artistically more back towards like Diablo 2, the much darker style.
And they also emphasized
Visually, it looks
non-repetitive
good, by the way.
gameplay features.
So you never feel like you're always doing the same thing. The pacing
I think
is always
visually
a
the
little
game
bit
looks good.
different.
On March 1st, they released a video showing the gameplay trailer for the beta early access of Diablo 4, announcing that you could play the game on March 17th through March 19th.
Oh, I hate this crap, by the way. This is quite a common theme in big games now. I think Starfield did it as well, where they have this pre-purchase thing where if you can play the beta or early access or pre-order. Say you pay like basically $20, $30 extra for like the Ultimate Edition, right? But you can play all the betas and you get like the pre-order. It's like you get to play it before everybody else. And they do pre-release ones as well. I hate that. It's just you're paying more money for the same product just to play it 3 days earlier. In this case, this was the betas. So we're not at the release yet anyway. Well, these are just the betas, by the way. But this kind of stuff really ticks me off.
If you pre-purchase the $90
It's not even a streamer's dream because they still have to buy it unless they gift it to the streamer. You know, it's not even that. Like, and it shouldn't be that. It should be just to test the game. If you've pre-ordered the game, yeah, whatever. This is the beta. They also did pre-release. Pre-release ones annoy me the most because they release the game and people can't play it for 3 days, but they release it. People are like, "Oh, the game's out," and then, but no, it's been out for 3 days, and the hype. You lose that day one feel as well. I hate that game devs do this, and I hope they don't do it with Rebirth. I don't think they will. But it's like it's a really bad, seedy way of making an extra $20, $30 out of your customer base just so you can play the game 3 days early. Like, imagine all that and it's a bad game. This is for beta, but let's say if you have pre-ordered the game, you can play the beta, which is a good way to test it. People really wanted to do it, but they also did a pre-release for this game, and that's why I got issues.
For you, the day bison graced your village was the most important day of your life.
But for me,
But for me, it was Tuesday.
it was Tuesday. How's it going, Leo? Good to see you. No, I don't agree. Pre-release is not even as a pre-order bonus, but the problem is, right, you're paying more money for it. It's never on the base form of it. You know, it's always $20 extra to do that pre-release pay thing. They did it with Starfield. It's funny. It's all connected to Microsoft, right? But like, it's just terrible way of, not only do you lose the day one hype, but it's just seedy as hell, and I just don't like it. It's a loophole that is not incorrect to do, but it's, you know, yeah.
Digital Deluxe or $100 Ultimate Edition of the game. The $100 Ultimate Edition gives you the advantage to play up to 4 days early over everyone else. The accelerated seasonal battle pass unlock, mounts, cosmetics, emotes, and even rewards for their other Blizzard games such as World of Warcraft, Diablo Immortal, and Diablo 3. By this point, it is very well known that Diablo 4 was going to have a battle pass that was cosmetic only, and a big reward for buying this set of additions was a small boost through the battle pass. It's important to note that the battle pass was not available until the launch of Season 1, which didn't come until a month and a half after the game.
Wait, so you pre-ordered for a battle pass that you couldn't even use on day one? That is so stupid. That is so stupid. Oh my god.
Launch. The early access weekend for
I
Diablo
didn't know
4 arrived, and the game was in the hands of the public, allowing you to go up to level 25. This weekend was only available to players who have pre-ordered.
I watched a lot of
the
the pre.
Deluxe
I
Edition,
watched a
and
lot
you
of
can
this
play
beta.
as the Barbarian, Rogue, or Sorcerer. It only allows you to play through Diablo 4's prologue in one zone, and that is Fractured Peaks. Once again, no endgame testing. At first, the servers were
Infinite
plagued
freestyle.
with horrendous queue times and error codes. A simple explanation is that there is a repeating cycle going on.
Play for 10 minutes, then force off for no reason. Oh, there's a queue. One thing I hate about Blizzard is they never invest. They got all this money, right? But you can't. They never add like invest in more servers. There's always a queue, so you could be waiting when on release day or like if they have to close the servers and reopen them, you could be waiting an hour to get into the actual game. Imagine buying the game and then you can't actually play the game.
Sometimes over hour-long queue. Finally get logged into the game to only then get disconnected and be put back in an even longer queue after about 5 to 10 minutes of playing. This continued through most of the night until Blizzard put out a patch that seemingly fixed the problem. This angered many people because they spent additional money to play that said early access weekend.
So you've pre-ordered the game, you've got early access to beta and pre-release and all this stuff, and they're like, oh, but you can't play. So you're just sat there. Imagine being a streamer and you're just sat there waiting for it as well. Like, it's just even worse.
And it started to raise some eyebrows in the community.
They still do it though, Limit. They still do this crap.
Although, from a gameplay
just don't invest
perspective,
it in
people
servers.
were relatively happy with Diablo 4 as a game so far.
Yeah, game looks
but
good.
of course, there were concerns, and there were a few in particular that stood out to the community. And like a dagger coated in poison, issues that seemingly never went away. Some of these include that there isn't anything in Diablo 4 that's redefining what an ARPG can be. Tedious grinds that you're forced to do and aren't even fun the first time, including Renown, Altars of Lilith, Waypoints, and instead of it being fun challenges, it was simply a Google search to find the location and run around and collect them all.
I've heard there's nothing original in this game as well. Everything is like something they've already done or someone else has already done. Like there's a lot of Path of Exile in this game, or they've tried to copy some things from Path of Exile, but none of the good stuff.
The UI across the board needed work.
They honestly could have just copied Path of Exile and it would have been successful.
To play online and
It might have been a
no
different
offline
argument, but-
mode, worried player bases about server stability, and it felt like Diablo 4 wasn't created with the same heart as Diablo 1 and 2 were. Little did they know, it only got much worse moving forward. The open beta weekend arrived, allowing everybody openly to play the game, and all 5 classes up to level 25. Immediately, players are noticing the difference in power between
This is all beta, by the way.
the Druid and the Necromancer, and coming to the conclusion that classes like the Barbarian and the Druid lag behind significantly in terms of kill speed, unlike the other classes leveling. The balance was so bad about the Druid that memes were being made, and the class was nothing but a laughingstock.
For 17 damage.
What?
Players feel as though that the game is missing key features such as the gem tab, skill loadouts, more bank storage, inventory filters, and more quality of life features that are widely seen across gaming. Between the issues with
That's the thing, Limit. ARPGs are not meant to be played more than once. That's their fundamental design. These games are meant to be played more than once. You're meant to go through the game and then you go through the game again countless times to farm for the best equipment, to go and do some of the hardest stuff of the game. You know, that's what it is you're looting, right? But past the first playthrough, what are you doing? You know, like there's nothing to do afterwards.
the early access and open beta weekends, players are starting to believe that the game is poorly developed and there is a lot of fine-tuning that needs to be done. Other than that, the base game of
Diablo
combat
game with no
innovations and story
replayability.
seemed
Oh dear.
good enough for now. After the open beta weekends, the official Diablo team releases the Into the Endgame developer update video.
Did you see that dislike
The
ratio?
Diablo team releases the Into the
Oh my god, 12k upvotes, 17k downvotes on a YouTube video. You never see that on dev. Like, that's terrible.
Endgame developer update.
An ARPG starts once you beat.
Video,
Exactly,
breaking
I
down
agree.
everything the game has to offer once you reach the end game, and developers made incredibly bold promises that were sadly never delivered upon.
Brand new activities that provide meaningful progression, no matter their playstyle.
There's going to never be an absence of something to do.
Paragon 4 is a place where we're allowed to have a lot more depth, a lot more customization, many more options as you go. There's over 120 dungeons to play through and find in Diablo 4, and any one of them can become a nightmare dungeon.
We later found out that this was simply not true, being that there was only roughly 20 nightmare dungeons in a rotation at a time, forcing you to do the same ones over and over again.
Oh.
A few days later,
Oh
the
dear.
Diablo 4 team announces they are making
He lied.
significant changes to character classes, dungeon design, UI changes, and more. This leaves people very excited that the developers are listening to player feedback and are excited for the future.
Copium.
Through the last few months before launch, the Diablo 4 developers assure us that they're going back to their roots of Diablo 2.
Well, the initial direction was...
Had they done that, the
Diablo
game would have been a
2
flying
is the
success.
Dark, gothic, medieval world.
I'm telling you right
Darker
now.
and Grittier, and Diablo 2 is kind of the inspiration.
We wanted to bring Diablo 4 artistically more back towards like Diablo 2.
Have we heard this story before? Is this something that Blizzard is doing once again to tug on our nostalgia? Is history
$55
going to
skin.
repeat itself like it did with Warcraft Reforged, Overwatch, and World of Warcraft?
Dark, it needs
Classic?
gameplay
The
as
only
well.
thing left to
You
do
play more
now
like D2.
is
probably
hope what they
about.
say is true, and await launch day. Before you know it, the internet is absolutely slammed with Diablo 4 marketing. Whether it be the KFC collaboration, the non-stop Megan Fox promotions, pre-launch dinner parties with big names in the gaming industry, the Diablo 4 cathedral painting in France, the Halsey Diablo 4 song, and even a launch live-action trailer. They also announced
The
Diablo
marketing for this game was top tier, by the way. You can see the whole budget went into marketing. The marketing was really good for this game. Like, it was really good.
4 hardcore leveling competition, where the first 1,000 users to reach level 100 on hardcore...
This was a
eligible
terrible
to have
idea. This was a terrible idea. There was a race to get to level 100 on hardcore on a game that is going to have a lot of bugs of it. Just think about, before we get to it, think about what problems can occur during that.
their battle tag engraved on a physical statue of Lilith on the Blizzard campus.
Most
Blizzard
people that
held
will never
nothing
get to
back
see.
in wanting all eyes of the world on Diablo 4, and they knew this launch was going to be a big deal for them. It was either going to make or break the company moving forward, and they were ready to show the world what they had in Diablo 4. At least
Got a first level 100 hardcore, then died to a D6. There's one of the examples.
that's what we thought. On June 1st of 2023, the early access launch of Diablo 4 finally arrived.
Ah, the early access, guys. So also, the only way you could be in a race for hardcore and have a chance to do it is to pay the extra $20, $30 or whatever it is for the early access, because that's the only way you can have a chance of catching up and beating everybody, right? I can't. I hate that video games do this right now. Starfield did it. Only the big corporate companies are doing this, and for some reason, and it's just terrible. It's just people are just being baited and spending more money on something they don't need to, because it's the same product. In fact, it's probably slightly more untested.
It doesn't matter too much how amazing a game is.
And they will cover it up under the premise that we don't need to do day one patches because we can fix it before the day one actually officially occurs. And nah.
Even how well received it is.
What's this?
5.
Reviews.
It doesn't matter too much how amazing a game is, or even how well received it
Warcraft 3 Reforged. I never played that. I used to love the original Warcraft 3, but you know, the strategy game. But damn, that's not good for. I didn't even know that was a thing.
is. Shareholders, executives, and accountants want to know how well a game is selling. They revealed that in just 5 days, sales of Diablo 4 had surpassed $666 million in revenue.
That's more than the
estimating
remake.
nearly 10 million game copies sold.
That's more than Final Fantasy VII Remake altogether, by the way. 9 to 10 million.
Not even including the additional microtransactions so heavily apparent inside the game. In corporate eyes, Diablo 4 was booming, and it was nothing short of a monumental success. It became officially Blizzard's fastest-selling game of all time. So, Activision Blizzard was back on top, right? Well, that statement couldn't have been more untrue. Shortly after launch, the internet was flooded with reviews about Diablo 4. The early game, being relatively good from a gameplay perspective, quickly dissipated as people headed into the end game. Because the truth is, Diablo 4 had no innovation and nothing truly creative toward the ARPG genre.
Here we go.
And Blizzard simply took no risks. Tree of Whispers are the same thing as bounties from Diablo 3. They kept the same generic gambling systems. Paragon boards are just stolen content from Path of Exile and Vulcan. Nightmare dungeons are just riffs from Diablo 3. Just stolen content from Path of Exile and Vulcan.
No way.
Nightmare dungeons are just riffs from Diablo 3. The new free choice leveling is the same thing as Diablo 3's adventure mode. Nothing here was brand new or innovative. It was the same reused and recycled content, and fans were simply bored of it within a few weeks' time.
10 days after its release date.
The most common mistake we see from games with lack of endgame presence is they make the grind to max level longer, so it gives them time to come up with something new. And what did Blizzard do? Exactly just that. One by one, they were going across the board and nerfing dungeon farms to permit anyone from leveling too quickly from specific dungeons. And when that
Meanwhile, they also had a race for level 100 runs, but they're also now nerfing dungeons to stop people from leveling up to 100 too quickly. Even though people will just create a new character and do a different class after the fact, in most ARPGs, they're like, no, stop having fun. So people who are having fun, leveling up and getting to level 100, they're like, no, stop having fun. You need to slow down.
wasn't enough. They completely nerfed elite mob density across the board.
Oh my God.
One of the most fun aspects of the game. Instead of buffing the lackluster
having
dungeons
fun.
that were boring and slow, they nerfed the fun ones. They continued to do this with nearly everything in the game moving forward. Build diversity was the same result. Across all classes, you could see a clear-cut pattern in people using the same exact builds over and over again.
I mean, that if there's a meta builds always exist, to be fair. But looking at that, there's like there's a lot of these are abilities. These aren't even builds. These are literally 5 abilities that just make the whole game broken. Okay, I get it.
Again, instead of buffing weak abilities to bring them in line with the strong ones, they simply
nerfed
the
everything
abilities that were performing too well, making everything feel boring.
They nerfed all
with
the
price
characters
of
as well.
recost and the non-existence of skill loadouts or a dual specialization system in play, it was too risky to constantly be testing out and theory crafting new builds. It was too tedious to respec hundreds of paragon points manually one by one, and flat out too expensive. Having to grind out countless legendary aspects, uniques, and perfect affix rolls on every piece of gear was something that took too much time. By this time, players were reaching level 65 plus, and the level pacing drastically slowed down, and so did the excitement of good loot rewards as well.
So the problem with Diablo 4 is that after you spend about 80 hours into the game, all of the gear upgrades that you can get are so minimal, there's nothing else to do.
So the time it took to level vastly increased, and the rewards and purpose for leveling
boring.
became so much smaller. It's very obvious to everybody now that Diablo 4 has no endgame, and it was heavily front-loaded. The minor endgame testing, mixed with the constant changing of development teams...
I'll be honest, a lot of AAA games are like that now. Front-loaded, feels really good at the start, everyone raves about it, and then when you get to the end, it's kind of like, where's the rest of the game?
And major lack of inexperience and workplace professionalism was finally starting to take its toll. During this time, the in-game cash shop is being flooded with skins and cosmetic options available for purchase, even some cases where the cosmetic armor bought with real money
Wait, what?
for purchase, even some cases where the cosmetic armor bought with real money would be bugged and not even appear on your...
Imagine paying for something and you can't even see it. That's... Imagine paying for a skin, right? Thank you. Imagine paying for a skin and it doesn't even work. Oh my goodness. And then you probably can't refund it. That's the most Blizzard thing I've ever heard. I know. That's so bad. That's so bad. Didn't even test the skins.
The hardcore player-based drama is at an all-time high, with players dying constantly to server instability,
dying to load screens. There it is. Yeah, people were dying to load screens on hardcore. Like, you're building up. So hardcore is basically if you die, you have to start the whole game all over again, like from level 1, right? It's like a challenge run, right? But if you're dying to a load screen on stuff like that, you just, that's it. It's over. It's out. If you die to an enemy, it's a different story. But no, you die to things like load screens and in-game bugs that you can't control. It's over. So and remember, there was a race to level 100 hardcore run to get your name on a statue. Whoever wants that nonsense. But like, you know,
time high, with players dying constantly to server instability, disconnects, and things being completely out of their control through bugs and poor optimization of the game. Even worse, to confirm your place as a winner in the race, you had to tweet the Diablo Twitter account a Diablo 4 hashtag, your full battle net and battle tag, and lastly, a picture proving you reached level.
Why do you have to use Twitter? They can just look it up. They have the server. Why would I? What happens if you don't use Twitter? I mean, I know it's like, imagine not using Twitter in 2020, but like, that means you have to have a Twitter account. It's X now, it was Twitter back then. It's on a database. They could just been like, oh, it could have been like if like they have a ping system where the first 100 players get there and then it flags up on their thing and then the game pops up and saying, congratulations, you're in the first 100, so you'd know. You have to tweet it? That's so stupid. And that means that whoever's checking it, oh my, yeah, like an achievement. Perfect example. Like that's just impression farming. So not only that, they're just impression farming on Twitter. This company is just, anyone who defends Blizzard, honestly, this video is a good example of how they're just terrible. There's probably an Overwatch 2 one somewhere as well.
100. The amateur middle school system of confirming a challenge so important that hundreds of thousands of people are participating in ends up being...
And then it's inaccurate, yeah, because then like they got to look through, because you how are you gonna, there's no way to catalog it, but their database of showing who got there first would catalog it correctly. This again, this company's clueless. There's a reason why I'm always saying bad things about Blizzard in modern gaming, and they are just completely lost touch with like of them being a good game, of them being a good game dev, them making anything worthy. Limit, thank you for the gifted sub, by the way. Appreciate you, dude. Appreciate you. Thank you so much for the gifted sub.
A massive mistake, and they make errors announcing the wrong winners. This showed a major lack of effort and care in a multi-billion-dollar company, and once again, amateur or brand new developers making huge...
Well, I was gonna say, getting dragged through the mud, called a cheater, and everything else sucks. Not having enough of a voice in the industry to clear my own name also sucks. So let's figure out what's going on and let people know I didn't cheat. Banned for refunds. What?
$1 billion company, and once again, amateur or brand new developers making huge mistakes, skating by and doing things just good enough. Once again,
well, here's an idea. Don't.
There were even several
leaderboards. That's it. Leaderboards. Have a leaderboard of who, because even D2, there's. Wait a minute. There's ladder leaderboards in Diablos and all the previous Diablos and most MMOs. There's like these thing called ladder seasons, where it's like a race to level 100 and whatnot, right? This already exists in the world of Diablo. They could have just implemented that from this race, from day one. It doesn't even need to be an achievement. There's literally this. Leaderboards exist in both the previous Diablos, right? And PoE, and every ARPG, and most other games of a ladder system.
Several websites out
there. The leaderboard still doesn't exist? No way. Oh yeah, I've heard some of their updates. They can't fix like the resistances until season 2, which is like 6 months away. It's called a patch update for a reason.
There, once again.
And this isn't an indie. They got a lot of people working for them.
Just good enough. Once again, there were even several websites out there that track the progress of the hardcore characters with having zero budget.
So there's a third-party website that can track it, but Blizzard can't do it.
So surely Blizzard could have done it themselves.
Thanks, mate.
It became too difficult to manage storage inside of a full loot AR.
Always want to talk about the storage thing. The storage thing is mind-blowing, by the way.
Game. Between gems, legendaries, and aspects, rare items, uniques, inventory was quickly flooded within minutes of grinding out a single dungeon, and players demanded more room for their other characters. When Blizzard finally responded over a month later, they stated they couldn't add more because it creates a lot of memory overhead. When you see another player in game, you load them and their entire stash filled with all of their items.
Does that not sound like the most ridiculous thing you've ever heard? So I have an inventory, right? And I can't collect any more items shy of dropping all my current items that I may don't know if I want to keep them yet, because basically when you're playing the game, there's no single player to this game. It's always like other people, and if you walk near them, it loads their entire inventory on your memory for some whatever reason, and that's their. We can't give you more space because you're loading because other players' inventory is more important. This is the stupidest thing I've ever heard ever in video gaming. This was a meme, I think. But when I heard this, I was like, this can't be real. This can't be real life. A AAA company has got this. How about don't load up other people's inventories? It doesn't matter. I don't need to know other people's inventories unless I'm physically trading with them. Like, if there's a trade system in D4, I don't know if there is, you can trade equipment or not. I know you can in other Diablos. But, like, what? Why? Is a bug in D3? Yeah, but did they fix it in D3? Surely they fixed it in D3. The game's been on, like, got a big community. That would have, like, it would have been known.
Things like a gem tab, leaderboard, stash tabs, loot filters, ability loadouts, all announced to be added in future expansions, sometimes as...
So they've had years. Bear in mind, remember, this game was delayed by 3 years. And all this stuff that's basic, that exists in their previous games, is going to be added in the future. And it's not even available on day one. $70 game, by the way.
As far as 6 months.
Hey, $90 if you bought $90 to $100 if you bought the pre-release.
Months to a year from now. 1 month after the game launches, they hosted a developer live stream bringing us all some crucial updates to try and calm the community down. To kick off the show, they gave us a 30-minute segment on their new Diablo Immortal class, the Blood Knight, and the whole lore behind the mobile game right now. They also finally showed off the battle.
What? The mobile game? I just realized the mobile game.
The seasonal blessings that are implemented to help us quickly gain crafting materials, gold, and experience points more efficiently. This is in regard to having us create whole new characters inside of seasonal realms. And believe it or not, those completely backfired as well. When you spent Smoldering Ash to increase the amount of gold or materials that you would gain, there was a bug that would increase the amount of costs of everything as well by the same exact percentages. So it became nothing but an illusion of choice. And to even acquire exact percentages,
you have to spend 8 million? Oh my god. That'd be 8 million gold, please. I'll go back for those who missed it.
Of every material fired as well. Inside of they also finally showed off the Battle Pass monetization and the seasonal blessings that are...
Oh, the monetization.
They also finally showed...
That skin looks awful.
Showed off the Battle Pass monetization.
That helmet looks kind of cool, though.
And the seasonal blessings that are implemented...
Seasonal blessings. Smoldering Ash unlocked at next tier 8. Okay.
To help us quickly gain crafting materials, gold, and experience points
Oh.
more efficiently. This is in regard to having us create whole new characters inside of seasonal realms.
Mhm.
And believe it or not, those completely backfired as well. When you spent Smoldering Ash to increase the amount of gold or materials that you would gain, there was a bug that would increase the amount of costs of everything as well by the same exact percentages.
What?
So it became nothing but an illusion of choice. And to even acquire all of your Smoldering Ash, you actually had to obtain max level to acquire them all, leaving you a system that is nothing but broken and
What?
max.
You gotta get to level 100, but bear in mind they've nerfed the route to get to level 100. There's no post game. It's not enjoyable. Remember, as Miguel said, when you put 80 hours in the game, you get to level 70. The rewards are so minimal that it's not even worth it. Like, oh my gosh.
Level to acquire them all, leaving you a system that is nothing but broken and contradictory. Only half of your renown carried over.
Can I just point something out? You can also buy a tier, but that's
broken and contradictory. Only half of your renown carried over, and half of the brand new
half of your okay, that's different system.
Only half of your renown carried over, and half of the brand new content and class changes in Season 1 was locked to the seasonal realms and was forbidden on the eternal realms. Meaning that if you wanted all of these brand new changes and updates, you had to start all over and create a whole new character.
Wait a minute. But I remember this. I watched the video before this came out. They said No, but they said keep this. No, the dev specifically said you don't lose everything. Just make sure you, whatever day it was, you log in on your main account with the highest level, and everything will port across. They said this. They literally said this on one of their videos. You know, you're not meant to lose anything, but you are. You're getting 50% of your stuff here. You just said you only gain 50% of stuff like that.
Were then forced to go on to seasonal realms, and
But you got to start a new character to get everything.
players were quickly flooded with additional monetization. They even coincidentally made the paid
might be
accelerated
wrong.
battle pass button the largest icon and glow red on the homepage. They also coincidentally didn't add a confirmation button so that if you accidentally clicked it, you spent your money without any warning.
What?
So that if red on
That's not how taking money works. That doesn't sound right either. Yeah, you might be wrong about that. I don't know the ins and outs of that. If you're saying it's wrong, I believe you.
on the homepage. They also coincidentally didn't add a confirmation button.
Well, what do you mean a confirmation? Activate premium. I mean, that is a bit odd. You should always ask for "Are you sure?" button, but at the same time, you have to have already linked your account. So this guy's going, "Oh no," but he's already bought the stuff in the game anyway, so it's not like it makes a
So
difference.
that if you accidentally
If you're clicking on that, you're going to do it anyway. At the end of the day, half renown was carrying over, which was always said, and they play new seasonal content. Yeah, you do kitty cat. They did say that then. Oh, so it's fine then. That was right then. Yeah, you lost nothing. Oh, that's fine then. Yeah, because I remember them saying that you keep everything if you log in on your account that same day. You have to log into like the highest level account or something, or one that has everything. Yeah,
you spent your
that's fine
money
then.
without any warning. Bugs even went rampant through Season 1, with people having the ability to trade hundreds of millions of gold, legendaries, and even unique items between the
You can trade items from Eternal to Seasons.
Eternal and Seasonal realms, completely destroying hard-earned player progression. By this point, players were at their limit. Metacritic scores plummeted, and the
Is that an Xbox 360, by the
point,
way? That, yeah, what I mean.
players were at their limit. Metacritic scores plummeted, and the population slowly
2.2 Metacritic though. Like, taking off that last bit at the end there where he was wrong, like he's been pretty much right about most of the stuff, right?
dwindled down to nothing within a week of Season 1 being launched. And with the final nail in the coffin, Larian Studios released Baldur's Gate 3 on August 3rd of 2023.
Oh, the Diablo 4 killer.
Easily being the front runner for the game of the year, it knocked Diablo 4 out. The game had longer replayability, no egregious monetization, good developers, better RPG aspects, innovative design with stable servers and a real character creator, and gameplay sections with freedom of choice throughout your entire playthrough.
Now, I wonder why. Is it because they made a quality product and they spent a lot of time on it and only released it when it was ready and didn't backfire on it? And then just before the game came out, they said devs are lazy and their AAA devs are lazy and AAA companies are lazy and they are shortcutting intentionally because of how they're working. And yet Baldur's Gate 3 is a flying success right now. I wonder why. Is it because they spent all this time working on a game and actually put the effort into it, and then, you know, they chose to release this after D4 intentionally, just to watch the fireworks and then release the game and go, yep. But even regardless of Baldur's Gate 3 and being a great product, if D4 had released in a good state, in the state that they were promising and setting up and living up to the hype, they didn't have to live up to the hype completely. They just had to make the game work and have a post game and have it be played more than once and have less of these stupid bugs like I'm on the screen with Limit, but I can't pick up this item because Limit's on my game and I got his inventory and my inventory overloading my memory. Like, the game would still be popular now. The game died.
These things Blizzard used to take pride in, but those days are now over. A game that just a few months ago had a population of almost...
Baldur's Gate is never beaten Diablo in terms of, like, it's never been the game that would always, like, you know, like, it always was the under one. Now it's over.
7 million concurrent active players at once, has now lost more than 99% of its total population and is shrinking more and more by the day.
That's insane. By the way, that viewer count, I don't think that's true. It's probably more like 10,000. Like, I don't believe it's that low. There's no way. There's probably one point where it was at its lowest. Like, that's not coherent evidence, in my opinion. Current viewership 770. Wow, I mean, it's close. To be fair, it's kind of close. It's currently got 770 for a live service game. That's awful. Live service games usually have 10K at least minimum, you know, especially when it's height, you know. Like D2 has more viewers and D3 probably has more viewers. D2 Resurrected, I think you're looking at, right? Yeah. And that's probably without even their biggest content creators on. Put someone like Llama on, if he is streaming, and then that D2 category goes up by like nearly 1,000 as well. He's not streaming right now. D2 will always thrive when certain streamers are playing in D2 as well. That's without that, you know, like that's crazy. There's no content creators left in D4 basically. That's what's happened.
So what was the exact cause of Diablo 4's failure? Was it the constant change in development teams before launch day? The loss of key figures within the company due to the allegations and walkouts? Developers dislike.
He says constant change. These big people all left Blizzard before the lawsuits before for a reason. They clearly had enough of upper management. They were like, you know what? They're not listening to us. Like, here's what I can feel is happening. They're like saying, we need this, and then the CEO dude and are like, no, I don't. Pushes you away. Not interested in
creating and the increased malice between leaders and company team members.
Him.
Was it the
He's a
constant
problem.
delays, the microtransactions being
It's still the CEO, by the way. Didn't resign
forced onto players, or is it just the simple
after all the allegations?
fact that Blizzard has completely lost its touch and the era of this once king of kings is now over? No one really knows exactly. But one thing is for sure. No game in history has had almost 7 million concurrent active players at one time, and within a couple months, get reduced down to less than 40,000 active players throughout the entire day. A 99.4% loss in player base count. This is why Diablo 4 is the biggest disappointment in recent gaming history.
No, this is their biggest in gaming history, not recent. But yeah, I agree with that statement.
Hopefully heading into 2024, they can bring loads of improvements into the game and maybe flip the script on this whole situation. Maybe, just maybe, we can have a solid ARPG to play. But just remember, the new Path of Exile is on its way, and it could very well be too late.
True.
Have
Path
you
of
played
Exile
Diablo
2.
4?
So right. It's the percentage would have made a difference if it was like 1,000 people or whatever, right? But 7 million or something players dropping is insane. Like that is a lot of people in the you know, that's a lot of people who dropped the game. You know, that's a lot of people who dropped the game. The game came out like what 4 months ago. Like that's crazy. For a live service game, for its 2 games that came out before it, decades before, that like there's like a game that came out 2 decades before this game has more viewers on Twitch. I know we can't use that as a go-to as like, oh, this. Clearly that's where the interest is. No one wants to even watch Diablo 4, let alone play Diablo 4. So what are people paying for? What did people pay for in the get-go? How is this game still live? You know, like there needs to be a big shake-up. But I stand by this is the problem with modern gaming from AAA companies, like majoritively, Blizzard especially, Activision especially, get away with this nonsense, releasing crappy, EA as well do this, by the way, crappy, lack of quality games just to get it out, and then they're like, where's the money? Then wonder why there's a backlash afterwards, because they just don't care. And this is the second, like, Diablo 4 needed to save Blizzard. Like, it needed to save them. Because Overwatch 2 was already, which is a different conversation, already a kettle of fish. Like, yeah, okay, I was more especially most people don't understand. But, like, already a huge disappointment. They would let down one huge part of their gaming community. And this could have brought them back. They just had to make a game that could be played more past the first playthrough. And I skipped it. I skipped playing through this, but I watched a lot of the content around it because I wanted to see if it would develop into a game, see if I eventually would get it. I'm glad I didn't waste money into this game because if you spent money in this game, even like through like microtransactions, you're gonna be nothing that felt left with nothing but disappointment. Like the fact that it says it's gonna take seasons. How is it gonna take seasons and months to fix stuff that could be fixed in a few patches on a live stream game? If it's, you don't need a DLC release to fix things. Like, you can just, and you don't have to fix things if you make games playable and in a good state from day one. Cyberpunk should have been the last time this happened with a video game, and Diablo 4 have made it's a worse reaction than Cyberpunk in my opinion. Like, because Cyberpunk didn't have a dedicated Cyberpunk didn't have there was already a dedicated fan base to Diablo, right? Or any ARPG. Most people, whether you're a Path of Exile fan, Baldur's Gate, were interested in seeing how Diablo 4 was going to be, right? Everyone was interested in Diablo, and this was the result. And it's because Blizzard don't care about the gaming industry. They just care about their bottom line and if they can make money. They made the money because everyone bought the game. That's it. They don't care what happens to the game next now. That's the problem. There's no love or care in the game. Not from the people who physically made the game, because they clearly wanted to make the game good, but all the people who were managing the game before, the people left because clearly upper management of the company weren't listening, and the people that were forced to do the game, and the guy kept pointing out that the game was in a playable state or good enough was acceptable, not this is the best game that we can release. We have put our heart and souls into it. But why do you think indie devs and indie games usually thrive so well? Because they get to give it all. Yeah, there's no. You could say yeah, but they don't have time deadlines and stuff like as much as AAA companies. This game got delayed 3 years. This delay of delay, and they had such a big marketing to it. Don't build up your game if you're not gonna give quality testing. Remember that guy said there's no end game? They did one end game test and then that was it. And now there's no end game to the game, and the reason why no one's watching or playing the game is because there's nothing to do. And the only thing to do is a level 100, but it's the worst chore ever. Yeah, it's not even worth doing and logging into it, and people have gone elsewhere. This might have helped Baldur's Gate 3's success, but that's still irrelevant. The game would have been good no matter what. It doesn't mean that Diablo 4 would not have been successful. They just chose to stop caring about it and stop making an effort. And it shouldn't take 6 months to fix basic features that exist in both your predecessor games. So yeah, in my opinion, Blizzard have once again dropped the ball. They once again dropped the ball, and absolutely, they need a wake-up call. And Overwatch and Diablo have been an absolute failure. When you lose 7 million players, holy cow! What is wrong with you? But again, this is the state of AAA games or AAA companies right now. The big ones like Blizzard and Activision, EA. EA go quiet now, to be honest with you. They kind of just let them lot take it, And it weren't even the lawsuits that definitely brought around the end of this company or brought the current state of the things are. But it doesn't matter if Microsoft get their finish this transaction. It's not going to save. They had to just develop the games and live up to their promise, even if they delay it. Even if people are like, we've got to wait even longer for this great PvE content that was promised me years ago. But all the people who wanted to do that left the company because of the state of the company. You can tell that it's a management issue, and that's why this is all happening. They just don't care. But yeah, do better, Blizzard. This won't mean anything, but you should do better.